That's classic. We bring you great laughs and a unique behind-the-scenes look at classic television shows and movies. I'm John Cato. I'm an actor, voiceover artist, and also bring you an amazing insight as a moderator with over 20 years experience in the television industry. Okay, we've got another great show today. I've got Bob.
It hasn't happened yet. It hasn't happened yet. How do you know how great it is?
Bob, it's going to be great. It's going to be great.
That's right. John Cato, the psychic podcaster, knows it's going to be great.
As you can tell, who do I have back as my recurring co-host? I should say co-host at that point rather than guest host, that's for sure. Bob Bergen.
What up?
Hey, you know it. And
we're so hip, aren't you? You and
we
I
are.
You know, you and I, we're not even cool. We're not even lukewarm. Okay,
not even close.
We're just sort of there.
We're there. We are just.
I've never been cool in my life.
I'm going to give.
Speaking of cool.
Oh, speaking of cool, today we will be talking about Happy Days. And what's funny about you saying cool is, believe it or not, that was one of the original titles that they tried to have for Happy Days.
The Cool Days or just cool?
No, just cool.
Really?
Just cool. Yeah, and they got rid of it. But so everybody out there knows, they are today we're going to talk about Happy Days. And yeah. I will make this quick side note on the original title, by the way. Yes, it was cool.
Yeah.
They went to focus groups to test it.
And you know about that.
I do know about that with my background. Thank you very much. Focus group moderator John Cato. Anyway, what's so interesting is they found out in the focus group that people thought that cool sounded like Eskimos who smoke. I swear that is a true piece of research there.
Okay. So somebody has to do a short film or a pilot or something called Eskimos That Smoke.
I mean, seriously.
That is so freaking funny.
Who could come up with that? So anyway, quick intro. Bob, for those of you that do not know Bob Bergen from my other podcast, Bob is a master of animation. He's the voice of Porky Pig amongst millions of other characters. He's been doing this for years, and he's also a very, 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 very close friend of mine. So, and that's probably the most important part. So, hey, well, it is true. So Happy Days, Bob. We both have a love for this show. What's the first thing that pops into your head when you think of it?
Well, because I think this is a running theme with That's Classic. Let's talk about the house.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
All right.
Yeah.
The house for Happy Days is in Hollywood.
Where?
If you get off Cahuenga from the 101 and you head south, just past Melrose, just past Paramount Studios, on the right-hand side, you'll see Spanish House, piece of shit house. Sorry, I swore. Spanish House.
Clean show.
And then all of a sudden, Milwaukee Happy Days house.
Oh, how bizarre.
Yes. So I won't give you the address because I don't want people to bug the owners, but I just pretty much told people where it's at. And it is there. It's identical. You won't see Fonz's apartment above the garage because it never really existed.
Wow.
But it is in Hollywood, and I don't know why they picked that house.
It looks perfect. I mean, it looks exactly like that time.
But because I have a running theme with your show about houses and TV shows, there we have it with that. And then later on, I'm going to tell you Gary Marshall stories. But Happy Days. Were you a fan from the get-go?
I was. You know, I'm originally from Milwaukee. So, I mean, It's set in Milwaukee. And so there was such a big buildup about that I was a fan. In fact, to be quite honest with you, it's based on Arnold's. It's actually based on a place called the Milky Way, which then became Cop's Custard Stand. But they had the car hops and all that. And that was there. I went to high school right around the corner. So,
oh my gosh, you almost lived it.
Yeah, I mean, really, it was kind of wild. It was like, oh my gosh. And in Milwaukee, I mean, Milwaukee's a great town, but it's only so big. You know about stuff like this. You know,
well, does that place still exist?
I don't know if Cop's Custard does, the actual Cop's Custard. I'm not sure if that location does because I haven't been back there in a long time. But I wouldn't doubt it. I would not doubt that for a second. But also, the blue and white colors on their jackets is actually the public high school that's around the corner from there as well, Nicolet High School.
So they really did some research for this to keep it as authentic as they could.
Yeah, they really did. They really did go back to it. I mean, there's a lot of tie-ins to their real life. I mean, okay, another quick one. Potsy Weber. That name is actually Gary Marshall's wife's schoolmate's name. That was one of
Is
her.
she from Milwaukee?
I don't think so. I don't think
Okay.
so.
All right. So
Yeah.
as long as we're on Gary Marshall.
Right. Yeah.
So one of my best friends growing up, Steve Keenan, his father Harvey Keenan, and Gary Marshall were best friends growing up, and they grew up in New York. I think Brooklyn or the Bronx, I forget which. And they were so poor they would share dates. I mean, in the same evening, they would share dates.
Oh my gosh.
Now, I don't know how much of this is true. I've heard it from Steve, I've heard it from Harvey, and I heard some of it from Gary, but they would literally one would be making out with a girl, she would stop and go to him and make out. And
come on.
They literally shared dates. and Happy Days was loosely based on their childhood.
Oh, wow. No, that I did hear.
And all of their friends. And the pilot for Happy Days, do you know where that came from?
Love American Style.
Very good. What was the title of the show, of the episode?
Oh, I don't know the title of the episode. What was it?
It's kind of obvious. So Love American Style was always Love and. So Love and My Next Door Neighbor, Love and the Car Wash. This was called Love and the Happy Days.
Oh my gosh, I did not know that. Now that's cool. Wow, they actually took the name.
And Harold Gould played Howard Cunningham.
Right.
And Ron Howard played Richie, and this was before American Graffiti.
Oh, right. That's correct. Yeah, I did hear about that. I heard that Harold Gould did not. He actually was offered the show. But
was he?
Yeah, he was offered the show. By the way, one of those moments in show business where you make the stupidest mistake. He turned it down because he was working on a summer play.
Because listen, summer stock is very important. It's very important to one's career. Right.
But a show that lasted as long as that did, I'm sorry, big error there. Big error.
And this was common for a Gary Marshall series back in the 70s, in the early 70s. It started out as a single camera sitcom.
Oh, wow.
The first season, it was a single camera sitcom. So was The Odd Couple.
Oh, I did not know that. That is interesting.
And then it became a multi-camera sitcom in the second season. So in the first season, they did one episode with a live audience just to see what it would feel like.
Mm-hmm.
And it worked. But in the first season, the front door of the house was on the left when you're looking at your TV, and when it went to multi-camera, it was on the right.
Oh my gosh, now I have to go back and look because I never picked up on that. Oh, that's hysterical. Jesus.
Yeah.
You know, the other thing too, and obviously being from Milwaukee again, Fonzie, which by the way, they have a statue of Fonzie on the river that goes right through the city of Milwaukee.
That's too funny.
And people literally visit that like by the thousands still.
Like they're visiting Henry Winkler.
Exactly.
They do that. I'm sure they do that with Sylvester Stallone in Philadelphia. You know?
Oh yeah, I've done that actually. I've seen Sly up there.
Did you run up the stairs?
Of course I did, and I did the.
Did you make it?
Yeah.
Did you make it?
I did make it. But Fonzie, since we're there, hey, Fonzie.
Since we're there, hey.
What's so interesting about that though is Fonzie, Henry Winkler. That role was offered to Mickey Dolenz from the Monkees.
From the Monkees? No kidding.
I swear to God, Mickey Dolenz. Yeah, he was up for consideration. But Henry Winkler, the irony of this is, I don't know if you knew this, but Henry Winkler actually hated motorcycles.
No kidding.
A passion.
Like a fear?
What?
Like a fear?
Yeah, well, I don't know if it was a fear or not, but I would think it might have been because I heard that they had to actually, whenever you see him get on a motorcycle, they had to actually lock it onto a platform so that it would not move. So
oh my God, that's hysterical. He had a motorcycle phobia.
Apparently, yeah. I just find that so interesting though. Here it's Henry Winkler and he's got the issue with it. Yeah. But by the way, I have met him years ago when I worked as like a production assistant with Thomas Harris. he came in and it was just the two of us sitting there in like the lobby area. Nicest guy in the world. I mean, I've heard Gary Marshall is often described as the nicest man in Hollywood.
Right.
I would throw Henry Winkler in there too. So kind, look, truly interested in my life and talking, and just a great guy. Great guy.
Yeah, I met him several times. He was actually on my executive committee at the TV Academy. I've met him at the Emmys, because I'm on the board of governors.
Right.
But I met him the first time we were working on a cartoon called Duck Dodgers, and he came in to do a guest shot. And it's Fonzie. This is way before I was on the board of governors, and he was just genuinely sweet and nice and happy to be there. And I'm sitting next to him, and it's ensemble work in a cartoon, and I'm peripherally watching Henry, not looking at the script, but mouthing everybody's dialogue. And I'm thinking, this is quirky. And during a break, and I said, I'm just kind of curious. And he goes, I'm dyslexic, and I have to memorize the script. And he goes, and I don't just memorize my lines, I memorize everybody's lines because I have to know my cues.
Oh my God, I forgot about that.
And I said, so you don't read the script at all? He goes, no, I actually do use the script, but this is, in my preparation is I have to really prepare. And I said, is it difficult? And he said, no, because, when you're dyslexic, you work that memory muscle like crazy.
Oh, that's really interesting. I know that when he auditioned for Fonzie, he had looked at the script, but because he has dyslexia, he basically tried to get the essence of the character, and he just delivered lines. Yeah. And they asked him, well, could you, read the script? And he said, no, I really want to deliver the essence of the character. That's all he told them.
Brilliant.
Yeah. I mean, talk about smart guy.
Yeah.
By the way, a couple of things. When the show started, he was a minor character, and they thought he wouldn't even be around. He becomes bigger than anyone else on the show. In fact, at one point, I know they were talking about calling it Fonzie's Happy Days. And Richie or Ron Howard said, no, let's keep it for everyone. And that stopped that. The other one was, I know what it was. He was so popular. I don't think people realized this at the time. He was so popular that when they made Grease, they offered him the lead, not John Travolta. Yeah. I heard
about that. But I think he came up to like Olivia Newton-John's nipples. He's a very short guy. so I don't know if the chemistry would have worked. I mean, the only thing they had in common was the leather jacket. But I don't think that would have worked. And by the way, in the first season, it wasn't a leather jacket. It was like a canvas jacket.
Oh, God, that's right. It was like a windbreaker almost.
It was a windbreaker. It was like a gray or tan windbreaker. Now, I asked you if you watched it from the get-go. I did not. Oh, I was not a fan of the show. I became a fan of the show because I was trick-or-treating that year with my friend, another friend, Steve, who was dressed as Fonzie. But I just thought he was dressed as a hooligan. and he was in character, and he was knocking it. He goes, hey, trick or treat. And I'm like, I don't know what this kid's doing. Right. And I remember we were 3 doors down from my parents' house, and he knocks on the door, and it was Mrs. Smith, and she goes, who are you dressed as? He goes, I'm the Fonz. And she goes, oh, you're Fonzie? And we're walking away. I said, what's a Fonzie? What does that mean? What's a Fonzie? And he goes, you don't watch Happy Days? I said, no. What is that? And so then I watched it, and then Tuesday night over the years.
Oh yeah.
Happy Days, Laverne and Shirley, Mork and Mindy. I mean, that was Gary Marshall Central. And then
oh my God.
The last half hour was just the shows that didn't work. The Gary Marshall shows Out of This World or whatever spinoff didn't work. But Tuesday night was Gary Marshall, ABC. Oh, no, it might have been Three's Company. I don't know. That wasn't Gary Marshall. But anyway, great television.
Oh my God, it was great television. And by the way, Laverne and Shirley, once again, Milwaukee.
Because that was a spinoff.
Right.
With these two chicks that sound like they're from Brooklyn.
I know exactly. It's true. I should know that. It's funny. I don't know what the direct tie-in is to Milwaukee. I'll have to figure that out. I don't know. I got a good one for you, by the way. I don't want to just talk about Fonzie, but I'm sorry. There's too much good stuff here. the whole jumping the shark, which
Yeah.
is known, and well, you tell me, what does jumping the shark mean?
Jumping the shark is when a series goes in a direction that so goes against the show's legacy or Bible that it's changed its course. And jumping the shark came from the episode where Henry Winkler. Now, did he actually do the water skis?
Check this out. This is true. Now, first of all, you're right. He does the water ski and he jumps over a shark. And
Yes.
And so that,
which, by the way,
yeah.
Henry Fonzie should not be on water skis. What is he doing? They're changing the course of this show and character with one stunt, jumping the shark.
Exactly. Now, this is pretty trippy. He actually, when you ask about the water skiing, yes, he did. To the extent his father, I kid you not, his father had been pushing for a long time to figure out some way that the show could actually showcase his son's water skiing ability because he was such a good water skier. Swear to God.
Oh my God.
How that came about.
So he's scared of motorcycles, which is in character.
Yeah.
But water skiing, gotta find a reason.
Isn't that crazy? Yeah.
Oh my
and
God.
that's how that evolved. They kept pushing it, and finally they came up with something.
I mean, it's a good thing he didn't do hair, no, so I've got to find a reason for Fonzie to actually just because I know hair. I can really make a great bouffant. I got to do hair.
Exactly. This is going to work. Now, have you in your time, have you ever met Ron Howard?
I've never met Ron Howard. I hear he is one of the nicest people in the business.
Yeah, same here.
But Gary Marshall, I met several times.
And what was your experience with him?
Well, because my friend Steve's father and Gary were best friends, Gary Marshall, I would go to the Dodger game.
Wow.
And his wife's name was Barbara, and Barbara was from Cincinnati. She wasn't from Milwaukee because we would sit and talk about Cincinnati. And Gary's seats were between home and first, right above the dugout.
Oh my God, beautiful.
And they were great seats. And I didn't know Gary. I mean, I met him a few times. Several times. One time we went out to, it might have been at Patello's in Toluca Lake or North Hollywood, but we were at dinner and this waiter says, "Mr. Marshall, I just want you to know I'm an actor and I would love to work for you someday." And Gary goes, "Are you a good actor?" And he goes, "I'm pretty good." He goes, "That's a problem. You see, I can't hire pretty good. I gotta hire great." He says, "The next time, if it's Gary Marshall or Norman Lear or Mel Brooks, you tell them you're great. If you don't believe it, you tell them you're great."
Oh my God, that's great
advice.
That's great advice.
That is great advice. And
wow.
then I worked with him on the Looney Tunes show. He played Bugs Bunny's doctor. So when Bugs Bunny would say, "What's up, Doc?" he ended up he was the doc.
Oh, is that wild?
And so
I always forget that he was an actor as well. That's true.
Oh, sure.
And
lots of voiceover work. And it was very funny because Jeff Bergman was doing Bugs Bunny, and he's like, "Me, what's up, Doc?" And he goes, "Well, let me tell you, your prostate's okay." I mean, that wasn't about prostate, but it was just being a doctor. And then somebody else comes in, and Bugs says to the nurse, "What's up, Doc?" "That's not a doctor, that's a nurse." "Oh my God, it's your eyes."
Oh my.
It's your. And then the last time I met Gary was at a TV Academy event a few months before he died. I don't remember why he was there. It might have been the Hall of Fame, but he was with his daughter. By the way, have you been to his theater?
I have. I've got a little side story there myself, actually.
Well,
yeah.
But he was lovely, and I love his theater. And as long as we're talking about the theater, let us segue into the Gary Marshall Theater, which is called. What's the name of the? Well, it used to be the name of the theater.
I was going to say, because now it is the Gary Marshall Theater, right?
Right, but it used to be called Falcon, named after.
Yes.
Named after.
Oh God, don't tell me it was Maltese Falcon.
No.
What was it?
So the Falcon Theater was the theater group in Beaches. That Bette Midler, when Bette Midler, and I think was it John Hurt or Hurt John or somebody
or William Hurt, or
yeah, that's whatever. But it was the Falcon Theater, and I think the Falcons was the name of the gang when they were growing up in New York, the Street Gang.
Oh God, that
I
is
think
cool.
I have to get that. I got to do. If there people who listen to this podcast, and there are millions, look that up. Gary Marshall's gang, and they, by the way, they weren't much of a gang. I mean,
No, I'm sure they weren't.
they shared a date, you know, so
Right.
they're not much of a gang.
You know, you might be right though, because I met him actually when I was working on a project that he had at the theater, and he actually personally took me around the front lobby area. He has
Yeah.
the oh God, it's a machine that you have at a carnival, and it's got like the head like a genie, and it spits out like a
the fortune teller thing.
Yeah, and I believe that's from Big, from the
No
movie
way!
Big. Yeah, yeah. And he said to me, he said, "Look, this is sitting here because my sister couldn't figure out where she wanted it or something like that." And I said, "Well, let's put it in the lobby. And this is actually the machine from Big."
That
and he's
is
talking
so
to me.
cool.
Yeah, he's talking to me. He's telling me all about this. It was pretty darn cool. And there was some other item that's in that lobby that's from the movies. I can't remember because I was so blown away by that.
Yeah.
But he was really, really a nice man.
Yeah.
Really, really kind,
and
very gentle.
You hear that consistently.
Yeah.
Throughout this industry. What I mean, they had a softball league for Happy Days.
Oh my God. Super successful.
Yeah, and I remember being at Dodger Stadium, and they're playing for charity, a softball game, and he was just considered like a father figure. You know, Ron Howard wants to direct movies and TV shows, and he lets Ron Howard. I don't know if he let him out of his contract or if he just gave him a handshake and said, "Please go, do your dream." I mean, Ron Howard was the glue that held that show together. I mean, yes, Fonzie and Henry Winkler were the standout stars and
sure
character, but you know, to let Ron Howard go and do his thing, that's huge.
You know what else too with Ron Howard? He actually offered Ron the opportunity to direct episodes of Happy Days. Ron Howard turned him down
because he wasn't ready.
He didn't feel that he didn't want to spoil the essence of the show, and he felt like the guys that directed, which gosh, I'm terrible right now. I should know the guy's name. A really famous director, Jerry Paris. Jerry Paris, thank you. Yeah, Jerry Paris was directing a lot of the episodes, and Ron Howard did not feel like it was for him to step into.
That's interesting because there was a time, and maybe some shows today, where they have the same director throughout the life of the show.
Right.
But a lot of shows have, you know, guest directors. And I've always wondered, how do they come in and understand the feel, the chemistry, the legacy, the Bible? You know, it's not just technical here. The camera goes here, you walk there.
No, not at all.
Character. Yeah. So, you know, but Ron Howard, who was a part of that series from day one, you would think that he would get it. But, you know, there's a trust and a respect that goes along with working with a director. So perhaps he was just being respectful. I bet he could have done it.
Oh, he could have done it. He's super talented, without a doubt. He, Ron, you know, it's interesting about Ron Howard too. Going back to that, we talk about actors that are offered something and then they say no. He turned down Happy Days as well. And Gary Marshall had to really talk to him and say, look, yeah, well, fair enough. He just was coming off of being Opie for all those years. And now he's going to be typecast as Richie. And it's like kind of a similar good old all-American boy thing. And he wanted to make sure that Gary Marshall said, look, I want you to know you're not just going to be in this typecast situation. We're going to broaden out these characters over the years. There's so much more here. And he believed in Gary Marshall, and that's why he agreed to do it.
Wow.
But he almost backed out. I mean, he was a very successful guy to begin with, you know?
Yeah.
So
well, we got to talk about the elephant in and out of the room.
Sure.
Chuck.
The brother. The brother?
What the hell? I mean, you know, I can understand if you want to send him to college. Oh, he got married. He moved to Hawaii. But why just pretend like he never existed after season 3?
I found that really bizarre too. I agree with you because I remember those episodes very well with Chuck. I don't.
Oh yeah.
Did you ever see the one with Chuck? Chuck has his own apartment, and he has Richie come and be his roommate.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sorry. I actually thought it worked. I thought Chuck was fine.
It not only worked, it didn't make sense. Couldn't they have at least, like, okay, he was only in season 1 when they went to multicam in season 2 and forward.
Right.
Couldn't they have had a funeral? Couldn't they have done something, you know?
Yeah, I agree. He's teaching English in Japan. I mean, something. Yeah.
He's a rocket scientist and he's working for NASA. I mean, something.
Yeah,
you know?
Anything to add. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it was a budget situation or what with Chuck, but
I think weird. I think there was more than one actor that played him even in that first season.
You know what? You might be right on that. I can picture the one. I can't picture the other.
I can picture the one, and I can see him sitting at the breakfast table.
Yes, me too. Me too. Yeah, and he's be wolfing.
Exactly. That's it.
Yeah.
And probably the only scene that we remember vividly of the character because he wasn't around that much.
No, he wasn't. He wasn't there much. Another character I'm sorry we should talk about is I mentioned Potsy earlier. I'm sorry. I love this aspect of the show. I don't know if you know this or not, but this is something that I found out that I thought was fascinating. Okay, so they had obviously the show was doing well, but they still have a budget and they have to watch their costs.
Right.
Well, the jukebox, because Rock Around the Clock, the Bill Haley and the Comets one,
which was the original theme song.
That is correct, and they re-recorded it for the show. He did a re-record, and then they did the actual original version later. They put into later episodes. But
no kidding.
Yeah, that's for real. But what's wild is the jukebox. Remember at Arnold's?
Sure.
There's always music that's going to be playing. Well, in order to pay the artists for those songs, it was just so much money. And they heard, swear to God, it's a true story. They heard Anson Williams sing in one of the episodes, and they said, "Oh my God, he's got a great voice." He actually sings all the songs in the jukebox after that. That's him. Yeah. And
for nothing.
I swear to God, they don't pay him. It's for free. And so they just had him sing all the songs. So nobody, you're watching the show now, you got to listen, but that's actually Anson Williams in the background.
So the transition music on TV shows when they go from one scene to the other, like in the Brady Bunch.
Oh, sure.
Da, 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 da. On Happy Days, by the way, do I get a residual by bringing up Brady Bunch?
Sure, why not?
Are there podcasts?
Ladies and gentlemen, that was the first podcast, I believe.
That's right.
Yes.
So on Happy Days, when they would transition, where they would do that sort of like, it was like squares that would go like this to this, like blue squares.
Oh, totally.
And you'd hear sha-la-la-la, sha-la-la-la-la. Ooh.
Yes.
I had a student years ago, and, going around the class, what do you do? And what have you done? And she goes, I'm a session singer. I said, well, would I know you from anything? And she started singing all the Happy Days transition music.
No, come on. Seriously?
Yeah. I said,
oh, wow.
Oh my God. I said, you're an unknown celebrity. Everybody knows your work. And she goes, yeah, I know that, but terrible contract, no residuals. It was crap. I said,
no residuals.
That's what she said. I don't know why. You'd think she'd get residuals, but I'll blame her agent.
Oh, is that painful? Jeez.
Yeah.
You and I always get rolling on stuff. And you mentioned American Graffiti. I think we should bring that in because even though it was a huge influence. And it also, if it hadn't been for American Graffiti, I don't know if we'd have Happy Days because once it was successful, that's when ABC actually greenlit the show. But it was after that.
Yeah, and Cindy Williams was in that as well.
Oh, that's right. And wait, Ron Howard is in that, right? Yeah.
Ron Howard is in that. Rock Around the Clock is in that. That soundtrack was great. It was huge. Now, here's what's really fascinating. Let's think about this, okay, shall we? So Happy Days took place when the first season, probably late 50s, like 58, 59-ish, you think?
Yeah, I'd agree. Yeah.
Do you remember on Laverne and Shirley, as the years went on, at the very end of the opening credits, it would say 1966, 1967. It would have the year.
Oh, yeah.
So Happy Days, let's say it took place 58, okay? Just for argument's sake, it took place in 58.
Yeah.
Happy Days debuted in what, 75?
That sounds about right. Yeah.
Okay, so 50, 60, 97, so 17 years later, okay? Think of the pop culture differences between 1958 and 1975. You know,
Oh,
you've got the duck ass haircut. You've got Earth Angel, and then
oh yeah.
you got Stay Alive. Yeah, I mean, the
Oh yeah.
music, things had changed so much. 17 years ago from today, it feels like it's the same. There
Yeah.
isn't there isn't much culturally different, other than we stream TV shows now. But my point is, culture and popularity changed so much in that 17-year span. So when Ron Howard did American Graffiti, which I believe was 72 or 73,
Yeah. Yeah.
that and American Graffiti I think took place in 1960.
I think that sounds right. Yeah.
That was
whole
only
movie
that
is
was
a
only a
future
that was
star,
only
future
that was
stars.
like a 12-year difference in when the film took place and reality, but such a difference in culture. It was considered classic music, oldies. 12 years ago, we were listening to Madonna.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's true. Yeah.
nothing has changed. So it's just so fascinating to me to think about what 10, 12 years difference meant back then compared to today.
Oh yeah, it's unbelievable. Actually, it really is unbelievable. I think that I think it says a lot about Happy Days as a show that you can go watch it now, and it still holds up. I mean, it's like it's
It
still there.
does. It totally holds up. Listen, we were talking about Arnold. I loved the character of Arnold, and
Now,
he wasn't on that much.
oh,
Are
we talking about Pat Morita?
Yes, we are.
Yes, right. Yeah.
Yes. Now I met Pat Morita.
Oh, did you really?
At his house. Now it always goes back to houses. Pat Morita and his wife lived in Tarzana, and we had some very good friends that bought a house in Tarzana. They built a house in Tarzana, and we had torrential rains, and a mudslide destroyed the entire block. And my dad and I was, excuse me 1 second.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Reminder, podcast.
Alexa, stop. That was my reminder for our 1 o'clock podcast.
I love that. I love that.
Okay.
Love Alexa. Always great timing.
He's not talking to you. He's not talking to you. If you say her name, she will respond. Alexa, what is Happy Days?
Happy Days is a comedy show starring Ron Howard, Henry Winkler, and Marion Ross.
Alexa,
Cunningham
stop.
and-
Alexa, who is John Cato? Nothing.
Nothing.
So Pat Marie, so
Yes.
my dad and I went to our friend's house, and I mean, just imagine this beautiful home, and it is up to your eyeballs in mud. It was so sad.
Oh God, that is sad.
And we are literally just trying to just dig up anything that we can grab and take it outside. And the neighbors are doing the same thing. And I went next door, and this guy is just like crying. And I said, "Do you need help?" And he goes, "I'm just taking it all in." And I said, "Listen, we're working next door." And I didn't recognize the guy because from head to toe, he was covered in mud because it washed them out of their house. And when he cleaned up, it was Pat Morita.
Wow.
But I didn't know it was Pat Morita, and because he was just this muddy guy.
Oh, that's really wild.
And
Yeah.
it was way after Happy Days. I think it was when Al had taken over.
Right. Oh yeah, I know.
And why didn't they change the name to Al's?
I think what I had read, because it was also, why didn't they change the name when Pat Morita was on there? Why was it called Arnold's? Because people actually at first were like inflamed, like, well, why would you have this very, English sounding name, so to speak? And here's Pat Morita. It's like, wait a minute, because he didn't have that name. I can't remember what his name was.
His name was Arnold.
It was Arnold? There was something.
Yeah, well, his real name, remember the episode where he got married?
Yes, I do actually.
And
Yeah.
he had this very elegant Japanese, very cultural wedding. And he mentioned what his real name was in that wedding. And,
Right.
and there was a joke, where did Arnold come from? And he's like, yeah, I'm going to make this up, who's going to come to Hashimoto's, yeah, I think that was the joke.
It was the
in that
joke.
episode.
I think what happened though is because they had approached him, he almost did not continue on with the show as long as he did, because they were like, this isn't coming together. It doesn't make sense. It isn't coming across. We feel like we may be insulting a culture and all this. And he came back, and I can't remember the exact story, but it had something to do with that his mother was of Asian descent, and his father was actually of American descent, and something along the lines of, and his name was Arnold, and it was like a dedication to him.
Okay.
And the
Oh,
network,
okay. I love that.
yeah,
Well, also, I kind of want to say, dude, it was, and he did leave the show, I think, in the second or third season
he did,
to do a very terrible ABC sitcom.
right. Well, I'm sure the money was there and everything else.
Well, yeah, for 3 episodes, I don't think it lasts. It's like when McLean Stevenson left MASH, everyone thinks bigger and better, but the problem was they brought in Al Malinera to play Al, and he was great. He was superb.
He was superb. I agree with you. I actually think of him more with Arnold's than I do.
Oh, everybody does, because he was there longest. He was there longest, and he married Chachi's mother.
Right. That's right. Okay, let's take a quick segue to Chachi.
Okay.
Since you mentioned Chachi.
My neighbor who lives down the street.
Oh, he lives down the street from you. Oh, how interesting. Yeah, Scott Baio. Yeah, without a doubt. Talk about a lucky break. I mean, that really launched him big time. I mean, he had done a film called Bugsy Malone.
Oh,
I remember that.
Which with Jodie Foster.
Jodie Foster.
It was a musical.
Yeah.
And then he got Happy Days, and then he got Forgive Me World. Joni Loves Chachi.
Oh, it's the worst.
First of all, I don't think Joni even liked Chachi. I'm just saying.
I don't either.
But they got lucky, because when that show bombed, they got to go back to Happy Days. But yeah, but you know what the thing is, his character worked really well and fit in with the show, and they needed, after a while I was never a fan of the years with and forgive me, Kathy Silver, because I've done voiceover stuff with her, but when they brought in Jenny Piccolo and I forget the guy who was on Married with Children who played
Ted
Marion.
McGinley?
Yeah, I was like,
yeah.
Every time he does something, and Ted, forgive me, buddy, I'm sure you're
well,
a very
there's
nice
that
guy.
Ted McGinley curse. It's everybody in the business knows about that supposed curse.
Bring him on the show and he cancels it.
Yeah, it's gone within a couple of years of him.
Except for Married with Children, that's the one that broke the curse. But like, he came on Love Boat and they said, yeah, it sinks. Let's just sink the boat.
Right. There is an issue there. No, I agree. Those aren't the best. Those are certainly not the best ones.
When Marion Ross let her hair go from high to down, that's when it started to go downhill for me.
Right. Everything changed just with that. And maybe she was trying to get that off to the audience. Things aren't going well.
Perhaps.
You never know. By the way, and just so I want to make sure that we cover these characters, because Ralph Melf, the actor, Donnie Most, I got to tell you, talk about lucky. The show was so popular. He actually also sang and had an album out that was on the charts.
Really?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
I
just know he's singing now.
Oh no!
Yeah. No, he's got I think he just released an album, but I think he is. I mean, COVID probably stopped this, but he was doing nightclubs and things.
Wow, Donnie Most.
And I actually hear he's got a really nice voice.
Well, I did hear his song from like '76 that he got that was on the charts, and it's very like low, soft. It reminds me a little bit of when Patrick Swayze did that one song that became kind of a big hit from Dirty Dancing. He wrote a song.
He did?
Yeah, and it became a big hit. It was actually a big hit, but it's that same kind of. It's like it's very soft. Their voice is very soft, and so it's like it works. It works, but
there was a time in the 70s that if you do a TV show, you must sing a song.
Yeah.
Do you remember when, I don't know if it was Starsky or Hutch, but one of them had a hit song, Don't Give Up on Us, Baby, or something like that? David Soul. There we go. And he actually had a very nice voice.
I hate to admit it, but I like the song.
The song is romantic as hell. It makes you cry.
I love that song.
But he's a one-hit wonder. Whatever happened after that?
Yeah, I know. It's always when they're popular on the show. That's
Right.
the big thing. By the way, there were a lot of guest stars that were on Happy Days, and one of the ones that was one of my favorites was they brought in Tom Hanks as a rival to Fonzie as a black belt, karate black.
Oh my gosh, I do not remember that, but that is hysterical that you do.
Well, it's just kind of funny because it's like, why would you bring, like, when you're in the casting session, you're like, let's get a tough rival for Fonzie. Yeah, in that black belt, let's get a tough. Hey, what about this guy, Tom Hanks?
What about the tall, lanky guy with the curly hair? He looks tough.
Yeah,
But let's think about how this progression, because wasn't it the same producers of Happy Days that did Bosom Buddies?
Oh, that does sound right.
You were talking about the Miller something.
Yeah, Miller Milkus, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and so he plays the black belt in Happy Days. He goes on to do Bosom Buddies with the same producers from Happy Days. He then goes on to do Big, directed by Penny Marshall.
Oh,
this is the most. This is a bit. People who want to get in show business, it's all about relationships.
Oh my gosh, that is a great little progression there to see that. That's wild.
And then he did other things too. But I'm just saying that was an interesting progression.
Well, yeah, because when he did Happy Days, he was really unknown guy. That's just so bizarre. I think, by the way, another one that I thought was really kind of dug this one up that was wild. I don't know. Do you know the actress Linda Pearl?
Sure.
Okay. She played Richie's girlfriend in season 1.
Yeah.
Then I swear to God comes back in season 10 and now she's Fonzie's girlfriend, but she's a different character.
Well, of course.
Yeah. And now it's really funny. Just before we agreed to do this podcast, I saw now she's dating Patrick Duffy from Dallas. So,
oh my God.
A whole progression going on there.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, isn't that insane?
Well,
listen, I think we should, probably bring this to a close. There's so much, we could keep talking. We haven't even talked about Tom Bosley, what a great guy there,
Yeah.
And, but I think we should probably wrap her up. So, thanks again, Bob. God, I what can I say? I always have a blast.
It's always fun, kiddo.
All right.
And tell your listeners, don't knock on the door of the Happy Days house. People probably live there, and just drive by and look at it and go, that's cool.
Yes, I respect that. All right. Talk to you soon, Bob.
All right, buddy.
Hey, if you haven't done so already, hit the subscribe button in the corner of the video so that you don't miss any of our future YouTube podcasts. Also, follow us on iTunes and Spotify and leave us a review.